Hey everybody, this is Stu Smith with another Tactical Fitness Report, and we have a special guest today. Someone who I know I have met, and I'm trying to put it to all together. We're from the same area, probably have crisscrossed friends and gyms, and all that just right down the street. But Jack McFarland, you look familiar to me. I'm just trying to put it all together.
Yes, sir. You as well. You as well, Stu. I appreciate the opportunity to come on the show this morning. Absolutely.
Yeah, so as a DEA agent, obviously that's Drug Enforcement Administration. If someone is not familiar with it, and we're going to really talk about what made you decide to join. How was your training? I know they've made some changes in the training over the years and different tests, and DEA, from my understanding, the academy's pretty tough,
Yes,
very
sir.
physically tough. We can get into a little bit of that, what people need to do to prepare for that, and then some of the cool things that you've done in 25 years of
32 years, Stu.
32 years of
32, brother.
okay,
Yes.
all right, I
Yes.
got the number wrong. Sorry about that.
Yes, sir.
That's impressive.
Yes.
And then we'll
32.
talk a little bit about what you're doing now
Cool.
and move on. So, real quick, first thing, if you would, just tell everybody a little bit about yourself and what made you decide to serve in federal law enforcement.
Outstanding. Born and raised up near the Allentown, Pennsylvania area, McCall Cracker. And I came on board back in, before I came on board with DEA, believe it or not, I was a high school teacher and football coach. And people would think that I was a phys ed teacher, but I wasn't a physical education teacher. I was a business education teacher. So,
Huh.
yeah, so it was interesting that people would think, oh, you're a gym rat, you're teaching
Yeah.
the students, and it's like it's like I taught business education, which was accounting, business, consumer mathematics,
Smart.
business law. So it was a great time. It was
Yeah.
fun, and I
Yeah,
coached football.
that's good football up there.
Oh, totally. That
Yeah.
football is king in
Yeah.
Pennsylvania,
Yeah.
especially the eastern part of the state,
Yep.
near
Yep.
Allentown and that. So I was able to really latch on because with football being king, especially in that part of PA, I played it since 6 years old when I was a midget footballer. And then I went
Yeah.
on to the high school level. I played in the college level. And then I went on to play, coach and teach. And I
Nice.
coached the backs and receivers, defensive backs and receivers, mainly safeties. Scott was a strong safety back in the day. It was a lot heavier back then, more like about 195, 200 pounds. Now I'm just a mere middleweight boxer at 160, So
Yes.
I
That's
had to
healthy, man.
bring
That's
it.
healthy. That's
Yes, sir,
healthy though.
brother. You have to bring it down. But
Yep.
yeah, after doing the teaching, I'm doing the teaching. I got involved in federal law enforcement. The thinking about going to federal law enforcement about 1987 from a friend of mine, and I basically applied to both the DEA and the FBI for special agent positions. And I'll tell you, it's a long process, Stu. It's just like with the military, if you're going to the Naval Academy, then going to the SEAL training, it's just not an overnight process. You go
Oh
in and
no.
take an interview. They put you through the rigors of getting, oh my God, the psychological test, the polygraph test, the physical training test, which is I like to touch on with that
Sure.
mental. So you're not, you can handle a weapon, take someone's life. So that process took some time to get. From the time I applied to the FBI and applied to the DEA, they were kind of competing at the same time. We'd have to go down to the federal building in Philadelphia. FBI would say, okay, this is going to be your panel interview. DEA, oh, you're going to do your written interview, your written test next week. So I was back and forth, back and forth. And my father, God rest his soul, is such a funny guy, teacher, football coach, and all that. My dad would say to me, you're going to get caught. You're going to get caught, man. You can't be playing one against the other. I'm like, Dad, I can play for as many jobs as I want,
Yeah.
Such an Irish Catholic dude, an Irish Catholic
Yeah.
guy.
Hey.
And I miss him every day. But he finally, the DEA came calling. And I stepped forward and I said, I will take the opportunity. I resigned the position as a teacher and a coach, and I moved forward with DEA. And Stu, as you know, for DEA, it's 17 weeks in Quantico, Virginia. I loaded a Marine Corps down there.
Yep.
And man, I'm 24 years old. I'm getting yelled at by these guys because we're very paramilitary, And I'm like, what did I just get myself into here? So it was
Yeah.
kind of like, whoa, I had to take a step back. But yet the personnel, the DEA, very elite organization. just like the SEALs, just like
Yeah.
all the Marine Recon Raider. I can go down the list of the guys and gals. But man, I'll tell you, I had my roommate, Eugene T. McCarthy. Look him up. Eugene T. McCarthy. I meet this man. Dude's like 6'1", 6'2", like 2'5", 210. Good looking Brooklyn kid. Naval Academy graduate. Cobra gunship helicopter pilot. Major in the Marine Corps Reserve, stationed out in Pendleton. Living out in San Diego. And I'm thinking, Ranger here, Jersey Trooper here. I'm dealing with a freaking, this guy here. My guy across the hall, United States Military Academy. I'm like, I'm a teacher. What am I doing here, man? How do I get into this division?
Well, hang on. Let's talk about that, because that happens a lot in many of these jobs. Especially when you're a young kid thinking that's what I want to go do, and next thing you know, you're looking to the left and right, and you're there with some grown ass men who've done some really cool things, and you get this little imposter syndrome going.
Yes.
This is a big deal. So what did you do to kind of snap out of that and realize, hey, this is for me as well?
Great question. I'll tell you, I got to step back to my family, friends, the way I grew up, Irish Catholic from the coal regions, hardcore kind of person, good work ethic. I thought to myself, I know I'm physically fit. I mean, I went through college. I got some good grades in college. I can handle this. I can handle this. And I'll tell you, the guys and the gals, because we're mixed, we had that respect for one another, which I really appreciated. It was no one was making fun of one another. What's that person doing here? What's that? He's going to fail out. Yeah, we lost 2. We had 46 in our class, a 16-week program at the time. No, it was 17 weeks 16 weeks. And, we had one gal couldn't do the PT, physical training. She just couldn't do the PT. And the one fella just couldn't shoot. That's a whole nother ball of wax about. I've never, no disrespect, I was never a barrel sucker. And once we got the SIG 226, that was our weapon.
Yeah,
like your guys,
it's like part of my hand.
There you go, exactly. And so the SIG 226, I went to a 228, then on the street, eventually to a Glock 22 9mm. And we're, when you're in training, we are trained very, very well. And I'm not trying to compete against anyone. I'm not trying to compete against you guys or Delta or these guys. But DEA, we shoot a lot of rounds downrange. So
there's a reason. There's a reason for it. I mean, your mission is it's a lot different than
quick draws. Because if you're working undercover, you got to hit somebody. But I posed this. I said this to one of the other fellows, one of the other shows. Can you believe that we used to shoot from the 50-yard line with our handguns?
Dang,
50-yard lines with our handguns. Yes. And that was a 100-yard course, 10 rounds. Stu, thank God I could see the target even. I even so far with a handgun. Now with the M4, it was not too easy. Pretty simple. And even the shotgun with the slugs going down range. But oh my God, they're proning you out, they're kneeling you, they're stand position. And I'm like, you know what? Here's my 10. Just take me 10 points off my because I like if I can get 4 or 5 out of 10, I was happy, man. I was happy.
That's a long shot with a pistol. I mean, nobody does that.
It's true. And the thing is, why did they teach that? Why did Quantico, why did DEA teach that? Is because you're going to know the answer to this. Some of your viewers will know the answer. Sight alignment, picture, trigger pull, breathing. You're hitting from the 50 with a handgun, you'll smoke it when you get to the 25, 15, 10, 7, 5, 2.
Okay.
And it's true. And it's absolutely true. And
I like that.
Watching that front sight on that weapon. And you guys know the platforms today and these weapons today are just crazy. I mean, the optics. We can talk all day about this.
Oh, about next level.
Optics. Oh my God, you're 300 yards down and it looks like the guy's right in front of you. And boom, there you go. There's the target right in front of you. So that was one of my things. But meeting these people, and like I said, to answer your question, I just reached down and reached back into my football playing days and just basically where I was born and raised. Absolutely.
Yeah, you can apply. Yeah, that's what I tell people all the time. Apply past successes and hard times to you, and grab hold of those. Like, hey, man, I've made it through summer football camp 4 days,
Yep.
I can do this,
I can do this.
or whatever. I made it through college while I was playing a sport. I can do this.
That's a great point. I mean, for any, like I said, for your listeners, I mean, never quit, don't fail. I mean, you knew it. Don't ever ring the bell. You guys don't ever ring the bell. I had the opportunity to come out to see your location out there in Coronado, and I said to myself, I'm looking at you guys going, they're all about the same size. There are some imposing guys, all inked up and all that, and they're trying to buff. But it's the guys that are the 5'6", the 5'11s, about $150 to about $180 that can go all day long, and they're trying to get smoke. That's the guys. When I was a PT instructor in Quantico, that I was not there to compete with the students. But when you have a 50-person class and you are the lead tactical, defensive tactics, physical training instructor, you have to make the strong stronger and the weak stronger.
Yeah.
And I tell you, it was one of those deals that I would just get in there and we would do our training for the day. It's always PT, defensive tactics, and then a cardio. And a cardio would be your runs. And we would run anywhere from, 3 miles up to the graduation run is a 10-miler. And we'd go over to TBS and we work the Yellow Brick Road over in Quantico Marine Corps.
Yeah.
Quantico. And I just love seeing the involvement and the evolving of the students. When they'd come in there, some of the guys would be a little soft. By the time they're getting their suits recut for graduation, the gals would change. I would tell the students, and I'd give them guidelines and goals. And I'd say, by 17 weeks, we will do 100 4-count flutter kicks. Now you're probably saying to yourself, geez, Jack, that was just a warm up for us for the SEAL boys. but to do that, 1, 2, 3, 1, 1, 2, 3, 2,
that's
up
legit.
to 100. And they would be like, they look at me and I'd be like, we are going to increase your numbers on your PT test anywhere from, a 10 to 20 points. And they'd be like, no way. We do it. We would do it. They would do it. They would do it. A lot of fun.
So the one thing I liked about the DEA when I was doing some research on them and creating programming for some local kids that want to go DEA is that they had pull-ups as part of their test.
Yes.
Now the FBI is adding pull-ups to their test.
When I went through, when I was an instructor an agent instructor in Quantico, we had a 5-part test. The 5-part test was pull-ups, sit-ups, push-ups, 120-yard shuttle run, and then the 2-mile run.
Yep.
Not boasting. I'm not patting myself in the back. I'll give McCarthy, my roommate. We take the test 3 times in Quantico, week 1, 7, and 14, back in the day. Still when I was an instructor, it was week 1, 7, and 14. McCarthy would get a 50, 50, 50 every time. Gene McCarthy, and I talk highly about the man because he was killed. He was killed in the first Gulf War. February 2nd, 1991, he crashed his Cobra. Him and his co-pilot were killed. Sad. Look him up. Like I said, 50, 50, 50. He was the number 1 student in our class. He gets to choose where he wants to go. He chose back to San Diego. Myself, what would I get? A 48, 48, 48. Why? I'll tell you why. Because of my little legs at the 120-yard shuttle run, I'd get I couldn't sub it at 21 seconds. I'd get like a 21.5. And then my 2-mile run, instead of subbing it on a 12, I'd be like a 12, 12, 10, 12, 15.
That's good pace, though. That's good pace, though.
Right? But think about that. You're like, damn. Now they changed it for many years. Yeah. And what's happening is, and this is where you come in, is if you could influence and talk to these people, the PT test, the physical task assessment test for the DEA, they are failing it because that's what's killing them. Pushing them aside not to get hired.
Yeah, you know what? That's the way it is everywhere. I mean, it's not just the DEA. It is everywhere. In fact, if you look at it used to be back in the day, your number 1 reason why you didn't qualify for military service, and I, primarily talking about military service here, was education, like you didn't finish high school.
Yep.
Criminal, like you did something stupid, got arrested, things like that, and medical type stuff. But now the number 1 reason is height and weight standards and physical fitness.
Okay.
So that's the thing that's holding people back.
And the physical fitness, has it changed? Well, when I got in there in the late '80s, then I got down to be an instructor several years later in the Quantico. I was selected to go to Quantico after my tours of duty on the Allentown resident office in the Philadelphia Field Division. I can talk to you about stories about the Philadelphia Field Division. I got my grades because we started as a 7. We worked to our up to a 13 to a senior special agent. Then I was a 14, acting 15, which was a supervisory special agent, kind of equivalent to our 15s would be equivalent to a colonel. It would be equivalent to 16s would be equivalent to a generals. So the first line bosses would be lieutenant colonels, 14.
Right.
But so you'd work your way up the general scale. And it was interesting because, I really wanted to strive upon that. But, getting in Quantico is, I see these students and it's like, man, are they really gonna work this through? Are they gonna be able to do it? Because you know why, Stu, and you know this, is doing the PT test is one thing, but getting the mindset and mental capacity is another thing. A lot of these students weren't even punched in the face. And you know what Mike Tyson says, you have a good plan. Once you get hit in the mouth, that plan goes left. It goes out the door.
Yeah.
And that's what we were constantly physical, constantly fighting, ground fighting. I see today a lot of law enforcement, the escalation of force.
Oh yeah. They go right to the pistol.
Oh man. I mean, what about the opportunity of, let's come on a situation, let's assess it. What can we do to calm this thing down before the escalation got to take place? I'm seeing that a lot now with the ICE members, hands on right away, trying to go to the ground. And it's tough. It's tough when a person doesn't want to do something, they get their feathers up. It's tough, man. And now you have to go non-compliant. So it was one of those things that we teach very well. And I'm going to keep driving this home about DEA. We're a no joke agency. We're a no joke agency. Hitting doors, stopping cars, shootings. I know I'm going up on a tangent because I love training.
Think about how do you guys deploy as agents? Like, are you and a partner going to a place? Is it a larger group? How does that work? Because it's very similar to, I would say, like, ATF. Those guys will go somewhere, and the other side of that door's probably armed. I mean, these guys are regulating the Second Amendment, which nobody likes. But they tend to go in 2-man groups that are highly qualified for room clearing and breaching and things like that. Is DEA similar in that sense to where they are like 2-man SWAT teams?
Well, we'll end up doing a lot of times, depending on the enforcement operation. When I was a young age, I got assigned a senior partner. Okay, a 13 was just over me, watching me and making sure I was doing the right thing. But when you go into certain situations, if it's an undercover situation, if it's a search warrant, a federal search warrant, or it's a federal arrest warrant, we are coming out there heavy. We are going to come out in a snake formation. We're going to stack and rack them and pack them, 6, 8, 10, 2 or 3 covering the rear.
Nice.
And we're breaching the door. The only thing that we don't utilize a lot of times, we won't blow the pins off the doors. I went to a breaching school back in the day and met a lot of personnel from the military. And I tell you, one of the great schools I went to was the FDNY, the New York Fire Department School. You want to talk about how firemen get indoors and break windows? Go see those guys. And rabbit holes and all that. Bam, they're in. So we would always work in teams depending on the operations. If I'm going out to interview someone, or you and I are going out to interview someone because we have to run a lead down, 2 people, maybe 3, knock on the door. How you doing? All real cool. But when we're going to hit it, you're going in the ballistics. The equipment has changed so much, Stu, that even I'm sure when you were from a SEAL till now, we didn't even have the plates in the beginning. We had a level 3 vest. I would go out as a gunslinger with a vest on, no shirt underneath it. The gun's hanging out, right? With a little submachine gun. And
iron sights.
Iron sights. There was none of this optics, none of that's business. And you're no helmet, maybe some protective eye glare.
Yeah.
And you're going in highly trained because corners will kill. Get to the room, cover your corner. You cover that half the room. I cover this half the room, and just do our thing. And that's what I loved about being in Quantico. I was one of those instructors. I taught the entries.
Nice.
So I had PT, defensive tactics. What are defensive tactics? Anything from cuffing to Cobb McGaw fighting to personal weapon skills, to baton training, to capstone training, all certified to do all this business. And then the tactics, the entries, the vehicle containments. How do you work in and around vehicles? How do you shoot in and around vehicles? Where's your cover? Where's your concealment? So a lot of that, and it's amazing. You get the person that comes into your training, and you have to remember, this is where my teaching they used to call me Coach or Mad Jack, Smiling Jack, or whatever. And he's smiling at you because he doesn't like you. He's just smiling at you, He's thinking he's gonna get to you, So it was really awesome because I went to all these different schools, and to me, you guys do it wonderfully. CQB, absolutely, but it's a repetition. I always say you gotta stay in a rhythm. You gotta stay in a rhythm and do it. And when you're going in, and a lot of times we can talk about military tactics. Those young Marines when they were doing Fallujah and they were banging doors. And I won 30 doors, kicked them one day. Whoa, that's dangerous. That's some dangerous stuff. That's heavy stuff right there. And you guys are stepping up to train these poor buggers to rack and stack and pack and cover your six and cover the windows and make sure you come with the shield or ram. So it was a lot of fun. It was very, very fun to do it. Yeah. But yet we have guys that get shot. Oh, do we have accidental discharges going in before we go in the door? Oh, yeah. We have guys with the shotgun in the low ready, and the breacher hits the door, and guess what happens? Sympathetic reaction. Bang! There's a round in the floorboard in the front porch. Ooh. And everyone's like, where'd they come from? Where did they come from? So, damn. So we definitely have that paramilitary aspect, but yet the equipment involved, the training has involved. LAPD, SWAT, magnificent.
Yep.
Magnificent.
What other groups would you say you've worked with throughout the states that you like? They got it figured out.
You know what I really enjoyed, and I'm going to take you back to Quantico, because Quantico was really, for my 5 years there, and they might sound like a lie, because I know your SEAL instructors, they get rotated after 2 years or whatever, they get to go back to the teams or whatever. But man, I was there, and I had the opportunity to meet so many, not just DEA basic agents and DEA senior agents, but we were also part of dealing with local, county, state, and international law enforcement. We've had teams come in that were, county sheriff teams that were amazing. Some city teams coming in, dangerous. Weapons handling, sweeping the weapons. We do the simunition training, and we had role play. We hire role players, and these role players were former gunslingers back in the day. And they'll hit you with that simunition round stuff, man. You gotta be careful, man. I mean, even as an instructor, you got to stay back because they'll be catching your thigh with one or whatever. And we would train those people. We had countless international teams come in, and they would say, as long as I would say to them, as long as you can take one or two things away from this 3-day training block or the 5-day training block we provide you, one or two things may save you life or your partner's life. Do that. I'm not asking you to take away, 10 or 15 things. You're not going to remember all of it. You just won't remember all of it. And a lot of the people would say in the critiques, because we like critiques, I like bad critiques because I learned from it, is this was wonderful. That was wonderful. I never thought of doing it this way. I never thought how to slice the pie or quick peek or when we're doing a surgical strike. And so it was a lot of fun that way. And I know I'm using the word fun. I'm just,
No, I love it. It is.
You have to be stoked when you walk into a room and you get a bunch of operators sitting there. I used to love coming into these roundups, we call them. And you have you're the case agent, and you have 30 federal warrants, arrest warrants and search warrants to do. Just like in Philadelphia the other day, they went back to Kensington and Allegheny to hit that place again. We were hitting that place in the 80s and 90s, and it still hasn't changed.
Wow.
So, you walk into the room, and the guys are grumpy, and the gals are grumpy. Why? Because it's freaking 500 in the morning. And you got to come in with some energy, because you have to go in there, and you got to feel the pulse of the room and say, let's wake up. Let's do our thing here. And they go out, and we'd have success. No one gets hurt. No one gets injured. No one gets shot, killed. Boom. It's the guys that the true leaders come in. They have to lead from the front, bump them up, get them moving, versus, oh, here he comes again. What has he got us to do today? Oh, and I'm sure you've heard it,
Sure. Absolutely.
And it's like what said is, I always try to stay positive on that, because I was that person. I will never give a bad critique to a former instructor, because why? We will learn from that, because I know I have to get up there and do it. And what am I doing wrong that I want to do better for the good of the team, the good of the DEA, good of those students? And one of the greatest things that I'm very proud of, and I've said this before in other podcasts, and others should think this as well. If you ever get in a management position or a leadership position, and you can walk away with not one of your agents, military personnel, police officers that got either shot, wounded, or killed, none. You did the right thing. You did everything right.
Yeah.
And they did everything right. And it's true. And that was one of my biggest things, having numerous classes for DEA. Now, my people did not get that way.
Nice.
They did not get that way. They did not get shot, killed, wounded, injured. Yeah, we had some guys, veer off the path because they lost their way. And then internal affairs has to come in the inspection division and say,
right.
NCIS says, come here, son, time to sit down. Yeah. Did you do X, Y, and Z? And like, don't lie to me, because why? Because you're the last, you're the target of this investigation. We have all the information on the case. So if you lie, you're fired. Yeah. You're done. Yeah. You're done. You're finished. I know I got on a tangent there, but
no, that's all right. I got a question for you though. DEA missions, right? Like, as with every unit, there's a hierarchy process. Like, you got your squad, your platoons, your brigades, your divisions, right?
Sure.
How does that work within the drug cartel world, right? So like your missions, do you hit mules and all those guys? Do you go up as high as some of the generals of the cartel? How does the difference between those missions play out for
That's a great
DEA?
question. Okay, I'm gonna bear with me now. Bear with me, and you and your listeners. Okay, you're now the supervisor special agent, but now you're the case agent, Stu. You're going to come and tell me what we're going to be doing here. Okay, boss, this is what we got going on. We're going to begin an investigation up on North Philadelphia, up on the corner on 2nd and Waterloo. It's a corner operation. Now you're dealing with the low to low. So those guys are out there slinging crack. Back in the day, we were always, the group that I was in, always was going after crack, cocaine, and marijuana. So now they're on the corner slinging crack. So now we have to work it. You have to do some undercover buys. You have to have confidential sources, informers to get in there, bake buys. Then all of a sudden, what you start doing is you start doing your techniques. And what are your techniques? A little pole cam action, little, physical surveillance, making sure these guys are who they say they are, and who do we think is the weakest link? That's where your intelligence people come in. They have to be on the case with you, and they'll do the backgrounds on these different guys, like say a Bill Jones. Well, Bill Jones might be one of the weakest links. Why is that? Well, Bill Jones is facing 2 strikes already from federal charges. So Bill Jones gets a 3rd one. Bill Jones is going in prison for life. So let's take off Bill Jones, see if we can take him off quietly. So all of a sudden now Bill Jones becomes that informant for that on that corner operation. Before you know it, now you're taking off a load. Maybe a load's coming in. Now the transporters are coming in. They're transporting the drugs. I'm not talking about the guys that are distributing. I'm talking the guys that are bringing the dope in. We take a load off, the dope. It could be 3 keys, 5 keys, 10 keys, whatever. We take a load off. Now all of a sudden, mid-management, the corner boss is getting upset. Okay, so now we keep doing it. We keep doing our thing slowly. Oh, there's time we can go up on the mid-boss's on the mid-boss's phones. Let's go up on his phone, see who he's talking to. Now he's talking to Jimmy Smith. Jimmy Smith is who? Jimmy Smith is now the next level up. You constantly keep growing up the ladder until you get to that person. We had an investigation in Philly. Back in the day, we took down, it was up North Philadelphia in the Kensington Allegheny section of Philly, like where the director of the FBI was talking the other day. We literally went from a corner operation to the mid-level, which took us to New York, Chicago, Miami, all the way down to Cartagena.
Nice.
And that investigation went from a local street corner operation to multi-state, multi-jurisdictional to an international drug case. That's how you continue to work up the path. And it's a lot of patience. It does take time. I got to give the bureau director credit. He said it takes time. And I think I'm not the exact words, but these investigations aren't somewhere where when the feds come in, we're not going to be like, get it done in a day. Now there's other operations called buy bust operations, or you're doing undercover purchase. That's another operation that can happen in just an afternoon or a 2-day process or 3-day process. But when you're going after DTOs, drug trafficking organizations, we used to call them, there were so many acronyms, but back in the day, we used to call them, kingpins, drug kingpins, and they changed the name to something. The acronyms with,
Oh, sure.
with the government. My God, you're like the poor, your audience, like, I'm trying to keep it simple for them. But nowadays it's something where they're working off different type of slang, different ones. But the bottom line is, if you can get a CCE, a continual criminal enterprise case, or a hammer on them, or a RICO, RICO, racketeering and corrupt organization, that's fantastic. If I may be so quick to this, there's a case, excuse me, there's on Netflix just came out called Philadelphia Mob Wars. Group 3 in Philly assisted the FBI and many other law enforcement agencies on that investigation of Scarfo, and also, Stampa and Marlino, who were the guys. Let your viewers check it out. I'm not trying to promote a show. They left a lot out, but that was something. These South Philly gangsters, it was awesome to work these people, because we used to call them the gang that can't shoot straight. They killed a few, but they a gang that couldn't shoot straight. But it was a Bureau investigation. And I'll tell you, I'm promoting all law enforcement here. The Federal Bureau of Investigation, they go after organized crime in like no way, shape, or form. Yeah. We go after the major traffickers, DEA, like nobody does. We do. I'm sorry, other agencies, but HSI or Customs or whatever, but we're all successful in our own ways.
Sure.
But I was proud to serve 32 years. And why 32 years? Because, Stu, when you're 24, I was 24 when I came on, 23 to 37. I stayed till 57. At 57, if you're an 1800 gunslinger for Uncle Sam, FBI, DEA, Secret Service, ATF, Marshals, boom, at 57, you're out. Don't care I don't care if you're a 14, a 15, a 16, you're out. Yes, people can ask for extensions, but a lot of those are very hard to get. At 57, after 32 years, I was ready to say,
sure.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
I do miss it. Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
I got a question for you again. So a lot of things have changed. I guess in 32 years, I'm sure you saw many changes. But even since you gotten out, things have changed with drug legalization, new drugs coming on that are even worse, prescription drugs that are killing people. So what has changed as far as like the DEA job this decade compared to previous decades?
That's a great question. Back in the day, and I'm not being disrespectful to anyone, we have what we call diversion. Diversion would handle the doctors and the scripts and the pill cases. We used to call the pills kitty dope. Oh, no, not anymore, baby.
No,
that has changed since the 2000s. When the pill mills came in, we stood up new groups called tactical diversion squads that would encompass agents to go with the diversion investigations and work this. The fentanyls are crushing people. I mean, let's think about fentanyl. You're talking, you can fill a football stadium with deaths in 1 year, even more, 80,000 car fentanyl. Me personally, I was never a chemist. I'm lucky I can even pronounce these kind of names, let alone spell these names. But it's the process of where these precursors, and what is a precursor? Chemicals that are made, that are brought in from, say, China into Mexico, and Mexico has these chemists, and they put it all together, and they start banging out this fentanyl. And we know fentanyl is crazy times more than heroin. And what do? You take too much of it, you fall sick, you die. So my opinion is, what has changed from working the typical cocaine, the crack, the grass, the heroin, the methamphetamine cases, it has evolved into this for many, many years now. And I'm talking, I don't have an exact date for you, but you're talking with the pills. It's rough business, man. It takes out everyone. Back in the day, Stu, I don't want to use this term in a negative way. That guy's a junkie. He's a junkie. What's a junkie? What does a junkie mean? It's someone who's shooting heroin, or he's a cokehead, or he's a crackhead, and it's derogatory to the person that's maybe needs help or wants to seek help, but they can't because they're in a bad situation. So I swore to the Drug Enforcement Administration, not the Drug Education Administration, not being disrespectful, but I swore to enforce the laws. And that's what I ended up doing. But
Right.
it's something where, it's tough. It really is tough. It's a tough situation, and it has changed, Stu. And the fentanyls, the car fentanyls, the whole different game has changed. But yet, knowing you have to step up, you have to be enforcement, and you have to be in education as well. Period.
Right.
You have to
Oh,
have
that's
both.
smart.
You have to have
Well,
both.
what do you think about the legalization of marijuana? Is
Bad,
that
man.
yet?
I tell you, here's the story for you. Let's all step back a minute here.
Yeah.
Red Ribbon Week is coming up. As a matter of fact, I think it just passed. Red Ribbon Week. What is Red Ribbon Week? Red Ribbon Week is a week where DEA and honors Kiki Camarena, not just Kiki Camarena, but all law enforcement. Kiki Camarena was killed,
Right.
kidnapped, captured, tortured, and killed in Guadalajara, Mexico, over marijuana
Right.
fields by a bunch of thugs out there. To have the words back then called cartels, and the names change. It's more like, what's the organization? Who's the organization? Oh, it's the burrito organization. Oh, okay. But now it's the CGNG or Sinaloa cartel, or the Gulf cartel,
Right.
or the Tijuana cartel. It's just basically a group of people. And with the legalization, I'm not sidestepping your story at your question. I personally, it's still a federal law. It's been in Congress and debates all for many, many years. I don't want to see it done. I don't like the smell of it. I don't want to be part of it. I know there's money to be made of it, but yet you have a guy like Camarena, February 1985.
That's the Narcos show, right? Narcos movie.
Yep.
Didn't they honor Kiki in that one?
And I think it's in this. I only watched the first. I don't watch much of that.
Yeah, I know. I don't watch Navy SEAL movies either, so I get that.
Yeah, you're like, oh, dude, that's not the right thing to be. When that D-ring shouldn't be right there. This is where's the scissors? I got you're critiquing your significant others going like,
shut up.
We just watch this damn
Shut
thing.
up.
We just watch it. So, but I believe he was, and Mexico and the grass. I mean, we had an investigation in Philly. We used to have what we call drug desks in headquarters, and our headquarters is right across the street from the Pentagon. Big operation. And with that in mind, we had drug desks. We had an investigation in Philly. We were looking for 1,000 pounds of fresh grass, fresh marijuana.
Damn.
You call the desk, you call the marijuana desk, and you say, we just had a seizure in the border patrol, in the POE down in Brownsville. It's available. It's fresh if you want it. We need it because a bad guy in Philadelphia wanted 1,000 pounds. We gave him 1,000 pounds. Undercover gave him $1,000 a pound to do this. You'll love this. We go to Willow Grove Air Station. We get on a KC-135. We fly Max flight, military aircraft, flight in a zigzag and stuff, boom, right to Brownsville. We pick this load of dope up, boom, 1,000 pounds of grass. Come back to Willow Grove. We had our people there from the Philly office. Throw it in the van, take it back to our office in the federal building. The next day, we go out, posing as undercovers, dopers, 1,000 pounds. Where's your money? Where's your $1 million? Whatever. Where's your money? Guy comes with money. Stick him up. Boom. Under arrest.
Yeah, $1 million.
But the logistics that we do, just like yourselves, people say, "Oh my God, they got so much ass." We do.
Yeah.
And we don't want to share the craft too much, but yet it's one of those things where you have so many thinkers outside the box that you have to stay within it. We have rules of engagement. We have to have the playbook. You can't deviate from the playbook. You can call an audible if you need to, but other than that, a lot of times you have to stick to the plan. The bad guys, no, man, hell no. They don't. They have their own. They have the rules or their own stuff to deal with. They don't care. We have to be in the guidelines to get them to federal court. Get them to get guilty and get to federal prison. Yes, sir. That's why a lot of the guys, I think, and gals, I think they're, with the feds. No disrespect to the state, the local, county, state personnel, but when the feds come in, we got the hammers on those guidelines. Yeah. When I was stationed as a resident agent in charge of St. Croix and the Virgin Islands for a number of years, I ran a team down there. Great bunch of people. We were thinking outside the box. I can share cases. I did on the other pods and all podcasts. And I do it for a reason. I do this because it's fun to me. We're spreading the word for DEA. and we're spreading what we do on our day-to-day missions. Think about this. 200 some offices nationwide, 90 countries we're in. If I want to talk to a buddy down in Bogota, Colombia right now, I bring the phone, boom, hey, what's going on down there? I want to talk to somebody over in, UAE, boom, what's going on over there? How's everything? They're not going to tell me because, let's be honest, I carried a top secret for 37 years. Now it's lapsed, but I can still get back in if I needed to. But it's just such a brotherhood and sisterhood that you can just want to call Mexico City? Hey, I'm coming out to Vegas. I need who's the contact that can hook me up at the Wynn Hotel? Just kidding, It's just a fun thing to say, and it happens. It happens. But we do our missions. We do a great job. I think a lot of times we don't promote ourselves enough in DEA. We do good, but yet we keep it kind of QT a lot. Like, give you an example. Do we really want to know when Afghanistan was standing up that we had foreign advisory support teams? We had 5 teams, Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta, Elka. And they'd go out and hit the bazaars. And these guys, they go through all the training. They do all the assessments. I didn't raise my hand because at that time, I'm in my 50s, man, when these things are coming up. And I'm like, I don't know if I can hang with those 20, 30-year-olds. That's a little different.
Yeah.
And so these guys and gals would be in country for 60, 90 days, 120 days, and getting shot at and doing things. We lost just recently, not recently, but it was just honored that the CH-46 went down, where we lost 3 DEA personnel, numerous military. And I want to get the exact date. It was in, I think it was October 26 or 27 in 2009, maybe. If your viewers want to look it up, 3 DEA were killed, brought their bodies into Dover Air Base. Big honor.
I remember that.
Yeah, remember that? They got in a firefight and skip the building and bam. And I was in inspections at the time. So we used to investigate all the shootings, and we call it SIT, shooting incident team. So if there's blood drawn, I was in inspection at the time. So you would get the case, and it was a war zone. So we had to do a modified investigation because we couldn't go into the war zone. And one of the guys down from me sitting in his cubicle, let's be honest, he caught the case, and man, that file was freaking. I'm like, thank God I didn't get that one. I'm not being disrespectful. It's like, oh man.
Yeah.
He did a good job though. He did a good job on it. So he really did a good job on it.
Well, it sounds like the DEA is really needs to be able to collaborate with other agencies and administrations, branches of service, all those guys, just because of what you do. Who would you say you work with the most?
You're going to talk military or
everything. FBI, military, border patrol.
I'll give you a broad
local
a broad stroke here. Depending on where you're stationed, depending on where you're assigned. Say when I was in the Allentown resident office, very small office, had to rely upon Allentown PD, Bethlehem PD, Pennsylvania State Police, FBI, the county guys up there as well. Okay, now let's move. Let's shift to go in St. Croix. Who am I working with down there? Oh, baby. We are the United States of America. We only have so many territories and commonwealths, Puerto Rico and the three U.S. Virgin Islands. But now you got to deal with the Brits. Brits were wonderful. They were awesome. The Dutch and the French. So you go to coordinational meetings, say in St. Martin, French up top, the Dutch down below. It's north and south. So you go over to the Dutch, and you're down below in the south part of the rock, and you're going over. And this is what I used to love. They'd be in there, the French, the Dutch, and the Brits. You'd walk in, you know what they'd say to us? And here come the Americans. I felt like I was in World War II, man. I was like liberating France, man. And here come the Americans. Why is that? Because, and I said this before, is because the Americans, we have vested interest in everything we do. We're coming for it, man. We're not sitting back. We're not going to blase it, or maybe we can figure this out. No, man, we're coming for it. And that's what I used to love. And we would run things. Like, you talk about 8+ personalities. They knew what the 8+ personalities in rooms were, the top dogs. So coordination is totally key. If you don't have coordination, you're dead in the water. Yeah. You're dead in the water. I was always, when I was say in Philadelphia and we had a case outside the city, I would make sure that I knew who the commander of the drug squad was, say for Bucks County, Pennsylvania. Right. So we go there, we meet the guy, we need them. But you had to be careful because some of these local departments, and I'm telling you, I'm not going to point figures on the board here on the map. But there are some law enforcement that are not above board. So
Right.
you kind of had to vet these people, and you know what vetting is. To basically, what the question is just to make sure they're cool. Are they good? Are they double dipping on us here?
Right, right.
And you're going to give a federal investigation to a local authority who's in, say, the Ozarks, and you're looking at a gang in the Ozarks. Guarantee you that guy freaking shoots.
He's probably related.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. He probably shoots pool with the guy every freaking Wednesday and that shit. Yeah, exactly. And you're like, can't do that. Can't do that. So, but cooperative spirit is very important. Just like with you guys, I'm sure you guys had to rely upon different assets, bring the teams together, and I mean, if you think you can do it alone, you're foolish. You're not going to be able to do it. You're not going to be able to do it. Even from, for our angle, who is the U.S. attorney that's going to handle the investigation?
Right.
That's important. We weren't allowed to shop. You couldn't shop for the good ones because there was a role. You're like, okay, this one gets this, but you were able to work with them, and you had to kind of mold them the way you want things. Because with DEA agent personnel back in the day that I worked with, I was working with guys when I first came on board, just like you back in 91, I guess, when you graduated from the Naval Academy, went on to be a SEAL for a number of years. Congratulations, thanks for what you did there, brother. None best than that. I used to tell people, you get paid to work out all day. It's the best. It's the freaking best. That's the bottom line. You get paid to work out all day. You're foolish if you think it's ridiculous. Don't be so stupid. But you want to basically sit back and you want to bring everyone together and mesh the assets. When you're a boss or a team leader, you are an officer. You got to find your personnel that have strengths and weaknesses.
Oh yeah.
You're not going to send in our agency. Not everyone can work undercover. Not everyone has the gift of gab. Not everyone has the intestinal fortitude to say, "Oh my God." But you get a guy who a buddy of mine. You put information in front of him, and he can write an affidavit for a wiretap in like freaking 2 hours. Boom, 3 hours, done. And I'd be like, and the bad guy said, it just, you got to know your strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah.
And I'll make fun of myself. I don't care. But it's true. It's just like, you go to your sniper school. I can't hit that thing 1,000 meters out. Jesus Christ, but he can do it. Well, he make him the sniper then. Now you're my medical guy as a collateral duty. Okay, whatever, So you had to find your strengths and weaknesses. And that's what a good leader does in DEA.
100%.
Absolutely. 100%. And thank you for agreeing with that. But with us, cooperation. If you don't get it, you don't have confidential sources, you don't know the beat of the street, you're not going to get cases done.
No, that's really good.
You're going to get bad evaluations.
Well, here's a little administrative question for you.
Yes, sir.
What's the process of getting promoted as a DEA agent after 32 years? How does that work?
Okay, that's very good. Okay, I started as a GS7. Look it up on the general schedule. I thought I was making big money from a teacher. I thought I was
First paycheck's $1 million, man.
It's like I'm making like $25,000, in 1987. Like, wow, this is great, And as a teacher, I'm making like 18,000, right?
Yeah.
Promotions. Let's be honest. You start as a 7. You go to a 9. You go to an 11. Okay, you're moving up. Every year you're getting your grades. You go to a 12. Okay, so now I got the 7, 9, 11, 12. Why are you getting
how long does that take?
Once a year. One a year per grade. You go 7, 9, 11, 12.
Okay.
Now what happens is this: the 13, you start making decent money. That 13, Stu, is something where you become a senior special agent. Well, how do you get your 13? Well, you can do it a couple different ways. One way is you can wait it for time. You could be a 12 for 3 years. They may have changed this now. This is back in my day. Yeah. You can do a 12-1, a 12-2, a 12-3, meaning steps to get your 13 on time. I did it where I had case reviews. If you have 2 case reviews after the 12-step 1, you can get it right away after 1 year, which I did. Boom. So I knocked off 2 years to get my 13. So I was a senior special agent then. Then the 14 is your first line supervisor. You got to take what they call a special assessment, a SAP, special assessment panel promotional test, or whatever it's called, a SAP. You have to score from 0 to 100 on it. I was fortunate. I did well enough on it that I would make every list. What do I mean by every list? Every list is this, every promotional list. Say there's jobs open in Philadelphia for a 14, for a boss. There's one in DC, and there's one in Baltimore. So I want the Philly job. So I'm going to put my name in, and I'm going to put in for the Philly job. So Philadelphia looks at me and says, okay, so here's the band score. Anyone from, 89 to 99, those people make the band. Then what happens is this. Then that list goes to all the personnel, and all the shucking and jiving goes on. Is it fair sometimes? No, not, but I'm not boohooing. So then all of a sudden they get 3 names, and it goes to the career board, which usually meets every quarter. The career board will promote 14s and 15s. So when you're 13, you have to wait for a couple of years to get to the 14 test. You're eligible to take it. I take it. I do well enough. I get promoted to the St. Croix resident office as the resident agent in charge.
Nice.
I spend a couple of years there. Then I'm eligible to take the 15 test. I do that. I did well enough on the test. I'll make all the lists. But when I got to the 15, they kept acting me. What do I mean by acting? You're not the real 15, but they're acting you. So in other words, the real 15's out, and you're in there for like a month. You're going, dude, what the hell? Come on. I need to be back in my group or to my office working here. So they act you, and I was acting all over. I personally, after 4 PCSs, permanent change of stations, I didn't want a 5th permanent change of station. I really didn't. I was towards the end of the career. Should I put I did a few 15. I put in for a few choice spots, like getting back to Quantico, me and about freaking 40 others, for a 15, getting in there. So, and it depends, let's be honest. Do you got stick? Who's your stick? Who's your rabbi?
Yeah.
People are saying, what does he mean by that? Who's going to support you? Who's going to stand up for you? Who are you connected with? And it's one of those things. So, and then the 16 is a whole nother ball of wax that full of pack it out, and you gotta, put that. And in DEA, I don't know how many admirals are in the Navy, but like with DEA, once again, I don't have the figures in front of me, but there's anywhere from 75 to 80. There may be more. SESs, Senior Executive Service, which are 16s. I try to keep it simple for people to understand.
Sure.
So 7 through 12 is your special agent, 13 your senior special agent, 14 and 15 you then move into the supervisory positions, and the 16 is another one. But that's a good question. I used to know all of that stuff, and you're bringing back memories on this stuff, because you got to go to Quantico, take this test, and it's an all-day adventure, and you're role playing, and maybe this guy doesn't like my green shirt or my white shirt on me today, and because and come on.
Oh yeah.
Our personality is subjectivity. The subject, they try to take it out of it, but there's still subjectivity there. Yeah. It's subjective in nature. So no disrespect, but that's the way.
Oh sure, that's the way it works. Yeah. So all right. So I got one last question for you.
Yes, sir.
What advice would you give to someone who wants to become a DEA agent?
Agent. Okay, number 1. Don't ever quit. Don't ever fail. If you don't get it the first time, lock and load, do it again. Yeah. Have your education. Okay. Education meaning be it your bachelor's degree, master's degree, even better.
Any particular subject?
People used to say back in the day, accounting for the FBI and law for the FBI, and us, we are like a bunch of soup, man. A bunch of like a vegetable soup, man. We got like chemists, and we got teachers, and we got police officers and state troopers and federal, military personnel.
Yeah,
definitely want to do that, but don't quit. Have your educational background, and then maybe get a little bit before you do it. Don't try to be this guy, or gal at 23 says, I was fortunate at 24 to get in, but don't be this guy or gal says, well, I'm just going to go right to the feds. How about a little local, county, state law enforcement? How about a little military? How about coming in and you're that fellow that graduates in the Naval Academy, and you did a number of years in the teams or whatever. That's great, because now it's going to be like, ooh, this is good. This is good. You get additional points for that.
Right. Okay.
And also, like I said, the biggest thing is just don't quit, man. I mean, I did 2 DEA, FBI, and I was fortunate that DEA came and called. Why? Because back in that day, Stu, you had the South Florida task force. You had Ronald Reagan president, Ed Meese was attorney general, George Bush Sr. was the vice, and they were hard. Nancy Reagan, just say no, and they were throwing money at
war on drugs.
Oh, war on drugs. As a matter of fact, I don't know if you can see that one back there. That's a showpiece I got. A showpiece. I did a show. DEA war on drugs, man. How cool is that?
Oh yeah, look at
Pretty
you.
neat, right? They
Yeah.
did that.
Maybe that's where I've seen you before.
Yeah, I did that with the boys from the guys from Gold Shields, great guys, and I've been on Team House, great guys up there. And one of the funny stories, we were talking with Dave and Jack up there with the Team House, and I said, I'm not a barrel sucker. You know what a barrel sucker is? A guy that can tell you the velocity of a round and interchanging the weapons, taking care of business. I'm not that kind of guy. I'm like, you want to talk about PT and working out? Yeah. So Dave interjects. He goes, Jack. He goes, gun shoot, gun good. I said, exactly. That's it.
Yeah.
Man. Gun shoot, gun good. We're good. We're good. Gun shoot, gun good.
I like
that's
that.
The truth.
Yeah.
That's the truth. And I'm like, yeah, that's cool. But yeah, that's what I would say with DEA. It's a great career. Yes, there's dangers. You will see the world if you're smart enough, which I did. And I'll tell you right now, and I always say this in the podcast, nothing greater. And you've been in some in countries, nothing greater in the United States of America.
No, yeah.
I don't care what you said.
I don't care where you go. You always want to get back.
Yeah, exactly.
You always want to get back home.
On that.
Yeah.
Thank you for agreeing on that. Yes, sir. And it's the truth. And it's the truth. And if you don't realize it, go over to South Africa or go figure something out. Go to Nigeria. Go to Niger. See if something's going on over there. Yeah. And you're like, man, I gotta do what? 90 days here? Go to the Democratic Republic of Congo.
Yeah. Woo! No thanks.
No thanks. And now, and like I said, this is what these people know.
Yeah.
We know one thing, and I'll say this: when we lived in the Virgin Islands versus grocery shopping. Okay.
Oh my God, it's night and day.
Grocery shopping. You go and there's $50 of cereal in Giant grocery store.
Yeah.
Which is a grocery store, here at the beach, and also where in Annapolis there. You go in a place down there, there's like 4 or 5 cereals. It's like, oh, damn. And you better go on a Tuesday because the ships come in on a Monday. They unload on a Monday night. And they stock the shelves.
Yeah. You got to time it, everything. Yeah, everything's just different. Like the term luxury is different.
Exactly.
A 5-star hotel here in the United States, not so much somewhere else.
No, it's like a -2. It's like a -2 over there, whatever. Yeah. No, I really appreciate it. That's what I would say. And just don't get frustrated. Don't quit. The world's not ending. Yeah. Because I would have continued probably teaching if they didn't come through, and I'd be like, oh, okay, whatever, Yeah. But and teaching, those that are teachers, cool for you, because I'll tell you what, and coaches, you are huge influencers, on the people that you teach every day and you coach every day. Huge influencers. 100%. Don't think you're not. Don't think you're not, man, because when you hear this student is getting A's and this student's now going to Brown, and it comes to you and asks you to write an evaluation or to go to University of Penn, the blue collar Ivy there in Philly. Yeah. And you're like, oh God, I'm like 22 years old. Like, I have to write you an evaluation or a recommendation to get to an Ivy League school. I'm like, how do I do that?
Awesome. Yeah, so, that's awesome. Yeah, I love coaching as well, and they give me hope for the future. In fact, most of these things behind me are from students. It's not my "I love me" wall. It's from students who pass on their stuff to me. So I'm proud of them as well.
I love the team up there and all your gear, man, coming out of the water. That's cool. That's a good one.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. That was just a Christmas gift from the group. So yeah, just
that's
good
great.
Stuff.
That's
so
great,
all right.
too.
So last thing. I know I said last question, but this is a little bit more personal. So you are in your 60s. How old are you?
63.
63. All right, I'm 56.
And I can still do 15 pull-ups.
All right, that's awesome. That's what I was going to ask. What'd you do today? I know you worked out before you did this.
Today was shoulder day, ab day, and my concept 2 rower. Knocked out the concept 2 rower. 3,200 meters, 2 miles.
Nice. There you go.
Bang it out in 20 minutes.
20 Good work.
Yes,
Good work.
Yes.
Yeah, I worked out before this too as well, and
I love it.
Always like talking to people in their 60s, 70s, even 80s that are still getting after it. And
get some, baby.
There's a guy that's a retired command sergeant major that I remember when I first moved here in the 90s, late 90s. I moved here. I was in my 30s and he was in his 60s and still getting, doing triathlons.
Wow.
Right? He is
Wow.
still out there.
Wow.
I'm now in my 50s. He is still out there in his 80s,
Wow.
still getting
doing
it done. And like, I love it because it gives me hope for my 60s, gives me hope for my 70s and 80s, and
Yep.
you can't stop moving.
Don't stop moving. I just had my yearly physical, my doctor yesterday, blood
Same.
work, all that
Last
fancy
month.
stuff, and you
Last
got to
month.
check it out. And I mean, I salute you for doing. I salute those that are doing it. And if you think you can't do it, you still can do it.
Oh,
You
yeah.
have to start somewhere. Rome wasn't built in a day. You probably had it back. I mean, people had their back in the day when they're teens and their 20s. But it's really crazy is that sometimes motivation. And I have to put this out to one of my basic agent classes, class 116. Motivation, their class motto was, motivation is the price of admission. If you want to be motivated to get a DEA badge and credentials, that's the price of admission, baby. You got to be motivated. If you're not motivated, you got to go. You got to go. And I would drill it on them. And people would always say, you were tough, you were fair. I learned that from my father. Man. I'm not gonna make fun of you or degrade you. That's not my style.
Teach, coach.
I'm gonna coach you, and that's why my nickname, AKA, coach, a lot of it. But most of the times, the guys that call me Mad Jack or Smiling Jack, because I was a little off the wall sometimes. I get all crazy, but in a good way. In a good way.
Hey, man, I so much appreciate your time, sharing a little bit about your journey.
Yes.
I appreciate your journey. I appreciate your service. So thank you so much for making our streets safer and for what you did. And so what are you doing now?
Okay, what I'm doing now is right now is basically I'm just staying in a rhythm, living life. My wife and I, we basically, knock on wood, we carved out a nice life for us. We live at Bethany Beach here. We have a place down in Florida. We go down to for the winter. I hate the cold weather. Yeah. And this last couple of days, as you know, the weather's been terrible.
Yeah.
And hopefully she'll clear this afternoon. But you can find me on LinkedIn under Jack McFarland. I'm willing to come out and do some speaking or motivational talks, anything of that nature. I have a website, www.jackmcfarlanddea.com. I'm also on the Instagram.
Okay.
And LinkedIn. And like I said, just hanging, meeting people like yourself, which I find it awesome. We're Annapolis, Annapolis or whatever, for 15 years. I can say we're that. Yeah. And I admire guys like yourself. I've met so many in my life. And the bottom line is, I've always find out the bottom line is, they don't give up. They just keep doing it.
I love it. Never quit.
Never quit.
Never quit. I love it.
And absolutely right. And but other than that, may I talk to you off camera?
Oh yeah. We'll continue. But everybody go check out Jack McFarland DEA.com.
Yes, sir.
Right. I'll put all this your LinkedIn link in the description of this video as well, so you'll know where to get them if you have any questions for them or speaking engagements that you would think Smiling Jack could help you with.
Smiling Jack, baby.
I'm sure it could help you. Sorry. All right, everybody. Hey, thanks for your time for listening, and we'll be back later. Have a good one.